I didn't think anyone would actually try to steal from my garden, especially not someone wearing a sun hat that cost more than my monthly mortgage. But there she was, Karen from the HOA, kneeling like she owned the soil under my sunflowers. At first, I thought she was just admiring, like a normal neighbor, but no, this woman had a basket, a literal wicker basket, picking vegetables from my backyard like she was in some HGTV fairy tale. And that wasn't even the wild part, because what she didn't know, what made this her biggest mistake, was that she wasn't stealing from just any garden. She was stealing from me, and I don't let snakes sunbathe in my zucchini patch. So I grabbed my phone, not to call the cops, no, I had a better plan. One that involved petty revenge, community-wide exposure, and one very public HOA meltdown that left her clutching her pearls. And her resignation letter. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to how this all started. It was mid-May, and my backyard was in full bloom. Lush tomato vines, thriving herbs, sunflowers standing like golden soldiers. Gardening was my peace. The one thing the HOA hadn't managed to turn into a rulebook nightmare. Until Karen, real name Janet Witherspoon, was the kind of woman who turned her nose up if your lawn was half an inch too long. She chaired the HOA board like it was Congress and treated the monthly meetings like war councils. She wasn't elected. She appointed herself during a mid-quarantine Zoom call when no one had their cameras on. Classic. At first, she kept her claws to sidewalk chalk and mailbox fonts. But then came the greenery ordinance. It banned unregistered vegetation. Yet, she tried to fine me $100 for planting heirloom tomatoes. Apparently, they were visually aggressive. I laughed, thought it was a joke, told her to take it up with Mother Nature. Her eyes didn't blink. Then I suppose we'll see how long your compliance record stays clean. That's when the late-night inspections started. I'd wake up to find flagged stakes around my basil, notes taped to my compost bin, unapproved soil additives. But it wasn't just me. She hit the whole street. Greg got fined for hanging string lights. Maria was told to relocate her gnome collection. We started calling her the HOA Hawk. Except hawks are useful. Then one morning, I found my strawberry patch half-picked. No raccoon tracks, no squirrel droppings, just cleanly clipped stems. Surgical, human. I checked my camera. Motion alert. 6:17 a.m. There she was, basket hat, smug as ever, stealing from my garden. That was just the beginning. The next week, she doubled down, issued an HOA-wide memo banning front yard vegetation within visible range. Her exact words, but only my house got cited. Then she started leaving passive-aggressive notes inside people's fences. One neighbor found her dog's name spelled wrong on a complaint form. Unregistered terrier. Beast. I confronted her. She smiled. Oh, it must have been a clerical error. You know how these systems are. She was the system. One night, I caught her dumping a bag of certified mulch over my compost pile. This will balance your pH levels, she said with a smile. That's when I knew. This wasn't about gardening. This was power. So, I decided to hit her where it hurt. I dug through the HOA bylaws. Turns out, her garden, yes, Karen had one too, was not only unregistered but extended 3 feet onto community land. I documented everything. Photos, time-stamped videos, even a sweet drone shot for dramatic flair. I wasn't just fighting her. I was preparing a case. I also found out she never got HOA approval for her patio extension. And her irrigation system? Hooked up to city water without a flow meter. Illegal. I started small. Anonymous tip to the city inspector. Quiet emails to other neighbors. I wasn't yelling. I was planting seeds. Then I got poetic. I made tiny wooden signs. Stolen from Garden of the People. Planted one in her petunia bed. Another near her lavender. Harmless. Hilarious. But the real move? I posted a video grainy security cam footage of her picking my strawberries onto the neighborhood app. Captioned, "Guess who's harvesting without HOA approval?" It blew up. Comments flooded in. She fined me for wind chimes. She took my rosemary and blamed deer. Even Greg chimed in. She clipped my hydrangeas during my kid's birthday party. Then came the vote. See, buried in those dusty bylaws was a rule. 3 documented abuses of power could trigger a forced board review. With my photos, videos, and the app blowing up, I had 16. I printed them out, put them in a neat binder, handed it to the HOA's treasurer, who also had beef with Karen after she called his koi pond bourgeois algae. We held a special meeting. Public, legal, delicious. Karen tried to defend herself, called it all a smear campaign by garden anarchists. She actually said that, But when the footage of her trespassing played on the big screen, you could feel the silence. The vote wasn't close. 22-1. She was the one. Karen was removed, effective immediately, and just to rub salt in the compost, her garden was torn out, replaced with wildflowers. By vote, I offered her some strawberries on her way out. She didn't take them. Now the neighborhood feels lighter. We've got a monthly garden swap. Maria's gnomes are back in full force. Greg strings up lights every week, just because he can. And me? I added a new sign to my front yard. This garden is under protection. It's not legalese. It's a reminder for anyone watching. Don't mess with the soil if you're not ready for what grows from it. Because sometimes justice doesn't come from a courtroom. Sometimes it sprouts right from the dirt you tried to steal. What would you have done if you caught someone stealing from your garden? Drop your answer in the comments, and if you made it this far, comment justice served so I know who's really about that flowerbed life. Subscribe for more stories where karma blooms beautifully, and hit the bell so you never miss a fresh twist.